Hey everybody, welcome back to the Stuff of Legend. My name is D-Lo and I've got another video for you guys. Today I'm going to be fan casting again, but I'm going to be fan casting a very special character. This is one that I think a lot of people really enjoy, a lot of people have liked for many, many years, and I think it's going to be really good time. This is Susan Storm Richards, Invisible Woman, and the reason why I have it hyphenated is because I'm fan casting for the MCU, and it's unclear whether or not they're going to start her off as married to Reed Richards, if they want to jump right into the first family already being a family, or if they're going to try to build that love story for us. And I think it would be really cool to get off the ground, already having been there with the Storm family, with the Richards family, and having that, I think it would be nice to really have them already married. I think that would be really cool. I don't think we need to go through the love story again where you build it. I think it would be really cool to watch them be married, have their, step on each other's toes a little bit, but at the end of the day, they love each other, and that would be really cool. I really like to see that, get more into the family unit of it all four of them together. I think that'd be really nice. And I wanted to show you guys some of the thoughts and the picks that I had for this character should they throw them into the MCU anytime soon, which I think we all think they will. So here is my list. So I'm going to go ahead and shift over to this other page here. All right, so we're in. So as I go along, I want you guys to let me know which of these characters you like the best, which one that you want to see play Susan Storm in the MCU. So I'm going to go ahead and just point out the fact that Jessica Alba's played Susan Storm. Kate Mara played her in the Fancasting movie. I didn't really like her take on that character, but again, I didn't like anybody's take on anyone's character in that film because the writing and the script was so bad, and it felt like the makers did not understand the characters, which was clear from the many renditions. But I did actually like Jessica Alba's. I think I'm in the minority here. I really enjoyed Jessica Alba as Susan Storm. I thought she did a really good job being that kind of like frustrated wife role. And I thought that worked really nicely. So anyway, I know I'm in the minority there, but just let me know if you feel the same. Pam Anderson kind of played a version, like a mock of that character in Superhero Movie. And then Rebecca, I don't know how to say the name, Staub in the Fantastic Four way back when. So there's been a few iterations of this character. I'm going to just jump right in. Here we go. Let's get over here. And first up, my very first pick, and possibly my favorite pick for the role, is Elizabeth Banks. She's 44 years old. I know you're not supposed to show ask the age of these, of women and of ladies. It's not really appropriate in a personal one-on-one setting, but for the sake of the fan casting, I am going to do just that. So the age is 44 years old. Elizabeth Banks is one of my favorite actresses of all time. From The Hunger Games, Pitch Perfect, even in Spider-Man. A lot of people forget that she was in the very first, the Sam Raimi trilogy Spider-Man. She played Betty Brant. She's 5'5", which is a good height for a lady. And but she's also in that age pocket, which would fit very nicely with most of my picks for Reed Richards. If you haven't seen that video, go check it out. But her as Betty Brant, a lot of people forget that she played that very comic book accurate Betty Brant. You can see some of the photos, second picture from my finger here. She looks very much like the comics. And, there's a lot of Easter eggs there that kind of tease in with like one of the guys who became the Hobgoblin, Ned Leeds. And down there at the bottom, second to bottom right, at the bottom right, you see her as a blonde, but second next to her, I forget what the actress's name, but she's the young lady that plays her in Homecoming and Far From Home. She plays the same character, Betty Brant. She's been recast. She's blonde. A little bit different take, but it doesn't really matter. Elizabeth Banks is a nerd through and through. She was in the Power Rangers, but here we see her. People have also seen what I have seen in that she's an incredibly talented actress. She's really good at playing a wife, great at playing a mother. She's about to be in that film Brightburn that James Gunn is producing, and his cousins are like writing and directing as well. But it's a really good, it looks really good. Obviously the film's not out yet, we haven't seen it, but I think that she's going to be really good for this, and she looks the part. So just on looks alone, you can see that she clearly resembles Susan Storm. Let me see. Is this her as well? Yes, it is. You can see her. This picture of Susan Storm doesn't look very much like her, but this right here you can kind of see. I can totally see her in that role. And I think that picking her would make it age appropriate as well. Not only would she look the part, she's beautiful. She looks very young, although she is right in the pocket of where we want her. 44 years of age is perfect. And I think that that would go really well with a lot of my picks for Reed Richards, which is great. And also kind of looking younger would make her visually relate a lot more to, even if you wanted to pick a much younger Johnny Storm. So let's jump ahead. Next up after Elizabeth Banks is Emily Blunt. And I know what you guys are thinking. Is it another John Kay thing? Yes, it is. So again, I said in the Reed Richards fan casting that if you're going to go with John Krasinski, do Emily Blunt and make it a package deal so that you can actually have them as a married unit play the married unit, which is Reed and Sue Richards. And so she's 5'7", 35 years of age. Fantastic actress. You'll note that on screen it shows at the top right that the 25th Screen Actors Guild Awards, at the awards ceremony, she had 1 nomination and 1 win. She is incredibly talented as an actress. If you guys haven't seen her work, you definitely need to. She crushed it playing, again, a wife and a mother in I'm sorry, what's it called? The movie that just came out. Shoot, why am I forgetting this? A Quiet Place. I didn't want to have to scroll down for you guys, but there it is. So I had to scroll down. A Quiet Place. She's incredibly talented. Again, some of her other work: The Devil Wears Prada, Edge of Tomorrow, Mary Poppins Returns. I haven't seen Mary Poppins yet. I've heard good things, but I'm going to not have anything to say about that. I'm just excited that they picked her. She looks the part. But again, I think that her playing Susan Storm would be really good. I mean, just take a look at this. Looks great. I think this is, these are some of the Photoshops, her turning invisible. Obviously, they've got a bunch of them with her and her husband in real life, John Krasinski, playing Reed and Sue. I think if you're gonna go with John Krasinski, you should definitely pick Emily Blunt for the role. She's not my first pick for Susan Storm, but she is a good pick, and I think it would be even better to pair her with her real life husband for the role of playing the wife to Reed Richards. And then also being the first family, she's like the first powerhouse female superhero in Marvel. I mean, there was others, but she was the real one. She was the one that everybody loved. So I'm gonna go ahead and just read her stats again. Is that Emily Blunt is 5'7" and she's 35 years of age. So she's a little younger, but still in that pocket. So I think that's a good choice. Now let's keep moving. To be honest, I'd be happy with Blunt, even if John Kay wasn't Reed. There, hey, see, that's a really cool comment, Sir Beats. I think that's it's really refreshing to hear that, because a lot of people prefer her. I wasn't one of them, but I feel similarly. I mean, she's incredibly talented. She could definitely pull it off, regardless of whether or not it's John Kay. But I actually preferred John Kay as Reed than I did Emily Blunt as Sue, just because of some of these other picks, like Katheryn Winnick. So again, this pick is one of my favorites, but I know that she's one of the most castable superhero actresses you could ever do. She has yet to play a superhero, and I think everybody's dying for her to play one, especially after her role in Vikings. Oh my gosh, is this actress a powerhouse? My wife was furious when Brie Larson got cast as Captain Marvel, because we, in our personal lives, not online or anything, but we had been fan casting her for the role of Captain Marvel for years. And ever since we saw her in Vikings, I had said to my wife, I was like, oh my gosh, she would be perfect as Captain Marvel. And my wife was like, oh my gosh, that'd be so cool. And then we were talking about, what if she was in DC, she could be Black Canary. Oh my gosh. And you're going to see 41 years of age, perfect age, but she looks way younger. And 5'6", good stature. And then she's Canadian. Check this out. So people have been fan casting her again. Like I said previously, look, this is her in an edit as Black Canary. This is her as Captain Marvel. People had Emily Blunt, Natalie Dormer. You're going to see a lot of these castings cycle back and forth from, you know, who people want to play, like Jean Grey, people want to play Captain Marvel. You know, you'll see a lot of these powerful blonde actresses cycled around in these roles, but I would agree with all of these. She would have been great as all of those, but since those roles are already taken, and it still translates quite nicely, she would do really well as Sue Storm. And she brings kind of a weight to her acting that you don't get from a lot of actresses. Some other actresses on my list are more known for their comedy or their charm. She is very pretty, but she's also just like, she has this emotional power to her, which made her such a force, like visually in Vikings, for instance. And so like she could even hold herself in combat, in battle, and obviously it's a you know, it's a fiction, it's a tale, it's a fantasy, but however, she makes that actually come to life on screen. And that's the kind of person you need playing the first family's heart and soul, which is Susan Storm Richards. So I think that Katheryn Winnick is a great choice. Let me know down in the comments if you guys feel the same. Obviously, like, check this one out before I move forward. Someone's got, you know, McConaughey, you've got Taron Egerton, you got Will Arnett as Ben Grimm. I think these are great castings, and as well as Katheryn Winnick, my choice. So obviously I didn't pick these guys for those roles, but Katheryn Winnick, you can see I'm not the only person that thinks this, and she definitely looks the part. I mean, she just simply does. Anyway, so I'm gonna keep rolling. Let me just recap her statistics again. Katheryn Winnick is 5'6", and again, height doesn't really matter so much when you're going for Susan Storm, because that's not one of her like definitive descriptive attributes. Height has never really been a factor there, and so it doesn't really matter. 5'6", but she's 41 years of age, which is right in that sweet spot. That's exactly where I want her. So next up, Adrianne Palicki. So this one is really cool, and there's some really fun visuals that I can show you guys that aren't necessarily fan casts. However, she's been in a show called The Orville with Seth MacFarlane, the guy that does Family Guy. She was in John Wick. She was in G.I. Joe Retaliation. She's also in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So technically speaking, she is already in the MCU as Mockingbird. However, there has been a lot of debate as to whether or not, you know, the TV shows are in fact inside of the MCU canon. And because she was only in it for, you know, like I think she was in it for a few seasons. There was a couple seasons where she was like one of the main characters, but then she dipped out and she's not there anymore. Got really busy as an actress. And so I think that she would be absolutely fantastic in the role of Susan Storm. And I didn't mean to say fantastic because of the pun, whatever, but you know what I mean. 35 years of age, again, a little bit younger than some of the other picks, but she carries this maturity. Even when she was on Friday Night Lights, she just felt very mature. And I know that she was older than the character that she was portraying, but still 5'11", a little bit taller. So you would need a little bit of a taller cast, but that I think would lend itself to her powerful presence. And she definitely is a powerful actress, and playing side by side with Seth MacFarlane, she is one of the better parts of the show, The Orville, for sure. No doubt. And I do enjoy that show. And so 35 years of age. Let me just jump ahead to some of the images for this. So I pulled up some of the images. This is not her in the next to the Reed Richards. But you see her in The Orville. She's constantly wearing blue. And this, I think, gives you a very good representation. Just take away that little emblem on their chest and put a 4 there. I know it's not exactly the same, but you can kind of get a visual like, huh. Yeah, she kind of does. And in that one, she actually plays the ex-wife of the main character, Seth MacFarlane's character. And she kind of has this complicated relationship where she cares for him, but they are kind of at like this weird place in their relationship. And that's something that would happen in a Fantastic Four film or story. If you're going to do TV or if you're going to do movies, I think they're probably going to go movie, but either way, that's one of the things about Reed Richards is that he struggles to be that husband that she needs him to be, and she helps him. She makes him better. She keeps him moving forward, and she's working on the relationship, and she reminds him of the man he is, how important he is to the world, but how important he is to her, and how he needs to be there for her too. So she would be so perfect as an actress for this role. It hurts my feelings to think that she might not get this position. So I think that, like Winnick is great. I think that, Blunt is great. I think that Elizabeth Banks is phenomenal. And all of these ladies, for the most part, look the part. I think that if any of these, including Palicki, look the least like the part, I would say that it's probably Emily Blunt. But I think that all of them are, as actresses, are suited for this role very, very well. And that's why I picked them. So, not just because they're blonde, but because they would do well. So, let me keep moving. Kristen Bell is the next one on the list. So, Kristen Bell, this is one where the height might actually play a factor, and you would have to consider that for her on-screen presence. She's 38 years old, which is a little younger than I would hope to cast for the role. But at the same time, it's not the youngest on the list, and it's definitely, still close to that pocket of 40 years old where I want it. So really close. 5'1" is very short. That is a very short lady. However, it's not that big a deal, and it could potentially allow, if you want to cast a shorter Johnny Storm, it could allow, Reed and Ben to really stand out and look a lot more macho in the team setting. So, and it could help, if you want to pick a shorter actor for Johnny, it could help kind of give that visual team dynamic in those big team shots if you want to show all four of them side by side. So that is Kristen Bell. She's incredibly talented as an actress. Frozen. I haven't seen much of these other ones. I don't watch Gossip Girl. I haven't seen The Good Place, Veronica Mars. What I did see, though, was Teen Titans Go to the Movies, in which she was a vocal role playing Rose Wilson. This was really fun. She is massively funny. She's just incredibly talented comedically, and I think that it's not really one of the strong suits you need for Susan. But if you wanted to change it up a little bit and have a little bit more of a lighthearted Fantastic Four, film or TV show, that would be really good to help her stand out from the other actresses who have portrayed her. It would allow the Fantastic Four to kind of have that like fun family setting where she could be joking a little bit with Johnny or Ben or Reed, and Reed obviously not being like a comedic genius. He's just a total brainy nerd. Probably won't get a lot of the jokes. He'll just fly over his head. It could help to provide a contrast between her and some of the other members of the team. So that's what I was going to say. Let me jump ahead so you can kind of get a little bit of a visual. There are, I think, I thought there was a couple of fan cast edits, but I'm not totally sure. So let me see. I don't think there are, but you can take a look at some of these. Let me see if I can find. I tried to find her wearing blue to kind of help the visual. She's got that look of kind of like the mid, like just beyond the shoulder length hair. I mean, for most of her pictures, she's shoulder length, but not that big a deal. You could grow it a little bit. It would be really nice if you could get, as close to comic book accurate as possible. And I know that there's been multiple haircuts over the years. It's not a big deal. Anyway, she doesn't look crazy like Susan Storm, but she does look close. She's very, very short. I think that could work to your advantage as a director if you know what you're doing and you have, an actor that maybe doesn't really seem that big for Ben, and you're not going to go full CGI. It would be really helpful to have some of the other cast members a little bit shorter to give you that dynamic, kind of in a reverse kind of way. So that's what I was going to say there. Now, let me just keep moving along. Alice Eve. Yes, she was in Iron Fist. So I'm going to go ahead and address this as well. So Alice Eve is my next pick, right? So we've already gone through the top 5. My first on the bonus pick is Alice Eve. And the reason I put her on the bonus picks is because Iron Fist was canceled, yes. However, Netflix has said that even though the shows are canceled, most of the shows, the characters aren't necessarily done and could potentially be seen in other properties. Now, what that means is so vague that it basically says that Marvel has the right to continue to use those characters if they should so choose. However, the Netflix shows are coming to a close. So if they want to continue with those actors, they totally can. I don't think that's going to happen, though, because Marvel and, you know, like Kevin Feige didn't really get along with, I'm forgetting what the guy's name was. I don't remember if it was Jeff Loeb or if that's the DC guy, but it was the guy that was in charge of Marvel TV. They didn't really get along very well, and I don't think that this is the direction they were wanting to go with the Netflix stuff. I think they were hoping to get something a little bit closer to marketability for like PG-13, not so much adult content, which I know a lot of people are like up in arms against. I know I personally enjoy The Punisher. I love Daredevil, and it would not be the same if it had to be dumbed down quite a bit with the violence and the blood and that kind of stuff. It was what it was because it is what it is. And so, but that being said, all of that being said, Alice Eve being on Iron Fist was amazing, but she's also really good for the role of Susan. 5'5", 36 years of age. She's a little bit younger, right in a pretty normal height. 5'5" is pretty normal for a lady. And a lot of people have also seen what I have seen. So let's take a look. You've got Susan Storm here. You've got Susan Storm there. Here is Storm. There is Storm. This is her in Star Trek. Check this out. All the blue. This is pretty cool, actually. When she was in Star Trek, I think it was Into Darkness. You can see here, it looks basically like a Fantastic Four suit. She would knock this role out of the park. Incredibly talented. I loved her in Iron Fist. Even though she played a psycho, she had a split personality. And the other personality that was kind of flirty with Danny Rand before she flips over and snaps into the other direction, as I forgot what it was, Typhoid Mary or something like that. She felt like Susan Storm to me, and I told my wife in that moment when I was watching that, I was like, oh my gosh, she'd be perfect for Susan Storm. She's like, I don't know, maybe. And then like later she was like, yeah, that would work. And so this is kind of like, I run a lot of my thoughts past my wife. There we go. And so with her, this looks so good. With her in that blue suit, the Star Trek suit, just swap the Star Trek emblem. Boom. You've got yourself Susan Storm. I love when you get these visual representations, you know, and like you see it in something else and you're like, oh my gosh, that looks exactly like the other thing. And you can totally get on board with, you know, like for instance, Zac Efron as Johnny Storm. No, I'm just kidding. That's not what we're doing today. But nevertheless, her in Star Trek was really cool. Her in Iron Fist was really cool. And I think, and I hate to say it, I think that the Netflix properties are going to crash and burn entirely. And I think that Marvel is going to be able to use some of those characters in other ways, or at least the actors and the characters for sure. So if that's what's going to happen, I think we're going to get to see something pretty cool. Now, I'm going to keep moving. Let me just recap. My first bonus pick, Alice Eve, 5'5", 36 years of age, from Iron Fist Season 2 and Star Trek Into Darkness. So now, let's keep moving. Jennifer Morrison from Once Upon a Time, from House, from Warrior. She's a really, really talented actress. Now, she tends to have kind of the same feel whenever I see her on screen. Maybe I just haven't seen her full body of work and seen her express a lot more range. She kind of tends to have the same general feel about her. And it's not my favorite, but she is good. And she looks pretty close. So again, not even my top in the bonus list, but I thought I would mention her because it did come to mind a couple of times, and I think it's a lot closer than a lot of the fan castings I've seen for Susan Storm. Now, in place of her, I was going to choose like Rachel McAdams, for instance, who would be really good in the role. However, she's already in the MCU in Doctor Strange, so that doesn't work at all. But I would say that 39 years old, 5'5", is right in that sweet spot. So age, height, acting ability is on par. I don't know if it would be the best, and in fact, I don't think it would be the best on my list, but it's good, I think, and it could work, potentially. So I'll make this one fast because I don't really have a lot to say here, but she was also in Star Trek as well. She played the mother of Captain Kirk. And so, let's see, James Kirk, if I'm not mistaken. So then we also have her here. Someone else had picked her there. Yeah, just blonde hair. If you can picture that. I'm not going to waste a lot of time here. Not a lot of fan casting for this one. All right, next up, Brittany Snow. Now, she normally plays some ditzy characters, right? 5'4", 32 years of age. She is a little shorter, and she is a little younger. But if you're going to go with a slightly younger version of her to maybe bridge the gap between maybe a very much younger, like say if you're going to pick someone like Ansel Elgort, and you're trying to say like, oh, they're siblings, you're probably not looking for a 20-year age gap, right? So you might want a slightly younger Susan Storm. This would kind of help. You could go with Brittany Snow being blonde, Pitch Perfect 2, The Pacifier. She's been in a lot of things. She's got quite the range. She does a lot of ditzier roles, but she does a lot of roles where they're not ditzy and they're just actually quite sweet. Sometimes a little bit of like sass and attitude, but that could go a long way in a Fantastic Four to give more personality to Susan Storm. So let's take a look. Here's her kind of more blonde. I tried to look up some fan castings for her, not a lot in that direction. I think I might be one of the only ones that sees this, but her eyes are piercing blue. She looks really nice as a blonde, and I think that she's just the right height. And if you're gonna go with a younger cast for like say Johnny and maybe even the whole team, I think she would be a really nice fit for that. I think she's very powerful in her facial expressions. So like if you want to do some close-up shots of her, like maybe during some dialogue scenes, she could provide a lot more drama through her facial expressions. She's really good at that. So I think that would be really cool. A little bit of a different take on the character, but I would not be upset if that was what they went with. So let's continue. January Jones. This is the last person on my bonus pick list. And so a lot of you guys will remember her from X-Men First Class, where she played Emma Frost. And this, I think, was tough for me, and it was tough for my wife to see her in that role because it just felt a little weird. It felt strange. She's blonde and she's pretty, but she doesn't look really like Emma Frost. Emma Frost has a much more solid build. She's very narrow and kind of petite. She's 5'6", that's not tiny, but 41 years old, right, the perfect age, good height, and I think that if you were to go in more the direction of Susan Storm, I think it would fit her acting ability a lot better than it would to try to force Emma Frost on her, which felt a little bit odd to me. Felt a little out of place, maybe a little out of character. I think she would do much better in a sweet person's role. But I might be totally wrong. You might see that way differently, and I want to hear from you about that. Let me know if I'm crazy. But, here's her as Emma Frost. And then there's also someone else had seen this as well, showing a image of her next to a cartoon version of Susan Storm, which is, it's pretty cool. Here's her in kind of a blue shirt. I think makes her look a little bit closer to the role. I think she looks a lot like Susan Storm. Visually looks a lot like her. Pretend this dress isn't red for me, okay? I think it would be a really interesting choice. Again, I haven't seen her in a lot, but what I have seen her in, it wasn't bad. I just think that when she was in X-Men, it was a miscast. I thought that there was a number of other roles that she could have played or should have played instead of Emma Frost. And unfortunately, they put her in that role. But I think she would do much better as Susan Storm. So let me know if that's something that you guys feel I am accurate on, or if that's total hogwash and she should never be in that role. Because I want to hear from that as well. So I think that's the last on my list. So that was the end of my list. Basically, let me just recap for you guys. I'm going to go ahead and shift over to my other screen really quick. Okay, so now we're back. I wanted to go ahead and just read these off for you guys, okay? So first up, my first pick was Elizabeth Banks at 5'5", 44 years of age, which makes her the oldest member of my casting, but she is, I think, probably the most perfect. Then Emily Blunt is number 2 at 5'7", and she is 35 years of age, very young. In fact, I think she's tied for the second youngest on my list. Tied for the second youngest. Then there's Katheryn Winnick, who is 5'6" and 41 years of age, which makes her tied for the second oldest, along with January Jones. And honestly, the height doesn't really matter too much. All these ladies are somewhere between, I think, 5'6" and 5'1", being the shortest. Now, after Katheryn Winnick, we have Adrianne Palicki. She was 5'11", 35 years of age. She's really talented. She's from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but you could adapt that. You could just, forget some of the stuff that's going on over here in the Marvel TV, and then just boom, here's Fantastic Four. Potentially. I love Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm not saying that I want Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to be scrapped. It's always been downstream of what's happening in the MCU as a whole. And so now it's kind of off into its own world, into its own kind of like universal situations. It feels very separate now. But yeah, you could do that with Adrianne Palicki, and I think that would be really nice. Next, after that, after number 4 is Kristen Bell, is number 5. 5'1", 38 years of age. Short, but powerful, and I think that would be really good. Alice Eve is the first of the bonus picks. So now we're in the bonus picks. Alice Eve, 5'5", and she is 36 years old. Next up, we have Jennifer Morrison from Once Upon a Time, 5'5", 39 years old. And Brittany Snow is next up, 5'4", 32 years of age. I think she is the youngest. Yeah, Brittany Snow is the youngest on this list at 32 years of age. And then January Jones, being the 4th bonus pick, is 5'6", 41 years of age, tied for the second oldest. So those are my picks for Susan Storm. I know there's a ton of other actresses out there that would be really good. Perhaps I didn't think of your favorite. Who's your favorite actress to play Susan Storm? I want to hear from you down below. Let me know their names so I can check that out as well. And if you guys liked any of the picks from my list, let me know which one's your favorite. And yeah, I'm just excited to hear what you guys have to say about this fan casting. It's fun for me, and I know that the Fox characters are coming soon. Probably in the next year, we're going to get some news about what's going to happen with the X-Men Fantastic Four, what the plan is, but we probably won't see them, the actual actors, actresses, characters at all for probably at least another 2-3 years. And that would probably be a cameo before we get the actual film, which will be in 4 or 5 years, I would bet. So that's my thoughts there. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you love it, make sure to share it with your nerd friends. I know you got them, and you know who they are. So leave a comment down below and let me know who your favorite actor was on my list. And then let me know if there was a favorite actress you have to play this role that I did not think of. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't. Turn on notifications so you can be alerted right away when I go live next time. That way you do not miss anything. And also, just thank you guys. Thank you for tuning in. You guys stay tuned for more right here on The Stuff of Legend.